Southern 7 Health Department and Head Start, making a difference in your community, one family at a time.
Hello everyone, my name is Shauna Ryan. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Southern 7 Health Department. Today we're going to be talking with Crystal Crim and her son Alex Crim about Tourette Syndrome. A little bit about Tourette's, if you're not too familiar. Tourette Syndrome is a neurological disorder that affects about 1 out of every 133 Americans. And generally this affects most children between the ages of 6 to 17. So we're so glad to have you all here with us today and talking with us about this, and invite you to share whatever it is you want to share. Okay? First off, Crystal, let's start with you. What is Tourette's and how has it impacted your family?
Tourette's is a neurological disorder which usually has the child with a motor tic and a vocal tic, and they have to have both of those for at least a year to be considered to have Tourette's. And for us it was a huge learning experience because we had no idea what it was. There was no information on it. We didn't know what we were getting into.
Okay, now how many children do you have?
4.
Is Alex the first one that's been diagnosed?
Yes.
He is. Okay.
He is the only one with tics.
Okay. Alex?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for talking with us. You're such a polite young man. I'm so glad to meet you. This is exciting for me too. How old are you?
I am 15 years old.
You're 15. Can you tell us where you go to school?
I go to Vienna High School.
Very good. And we were talking earlier, you're a very busy guy.
Yes, ma'am.
What are some of the activities you like to participate in?
I enjoy getting into whatever I can. I am part of the Vienna High School football team as well as the wrestling team. I am part of Scholar Bowl, Beta Club, the Future Eds Club, Youth of Christ, and I am also part of the Pope County Junior Firefighter Division.
How do you have enough time for all of that?
Just time management and a bit of luck.
A bit of what? Well, I think a lot of it says about who you are and as a person as well as where you're going, so that's exciting. I'm glad to hear about that. What is your favorite thing about school?
My favorite thing about school, I would say, would be to meeting others. I just love connecting and talking with others, seeing how the life is, how it can help, and just being a part of other people's lives.
So you like helping other people and
Yes, ma'am.
impacting what they do. That's wonderful. Now, Alex, as you know, we're here to talk about living with Tourette's and how it's impacted your life. In your own words, what is Tourette's? How has it affected you?
I would say Tourette's is a neurological obstacle. Like any obstacle, you can't quite get rid of it. It is still there. However, it can be worked through and around. It can be managed, and it can be turned into something that you can use to help with others. To me, it just provides a challenge for my speech, and it something that helps to keep me humble.
Very good. You don't let it stop you,
No, ma'am.
apparently. You just keep going and work through it. Do you know how old you were when you were diagnosed?
I would say 8 or 9, maybe. I was in third grade.
Okay, very good. And Crystal, when you found out about the diagnosis, did you go ahead and start talking to Alex about it? Was it something you included him in on?
Oh yes, he was included the entire time. We went to the pediatrician and she also suggested the same thing and sent us to a neurologist, and the neurologist is the one that diagnosed him with it.
Okay, does he have to go through any additional diagnoses or treatments right now?
No, not right now. When we first started, they do what's called CBIT therapy, and it's a therapy that will help you to manage the tics. You also go to counseling to deal with the stress of having the tics because it's so new, and it's the coping mechanisms.
Okay. when I first met you, it was, you know, I think it was more that you were nervous meeting us and trying to decide what to do here, but it's something that you don't notice after a while because you're such a personable and such, I want to say charismatic. You're just a really sweet guy. So you're doing very good, thank you. Now, I think I know the answer to this next question. Does Tourette stop you from doing anything you want to do?
Tourette, no, it is not. Now, does it provide a bit of a deterrent? Yes, Emily does make things difficult, but I do my best not to let it stop me.
Good. That's wonderful. And just the mere fact that your family is so supportive, and I'm sure that your friends are, and your teachers,
Right.
your coaches, that makes a difference too.
It certainly does.
Very good. That's wonderful. Now, Alex, how do people respond to you when they know that you have Tourette's?
Strangers, they typically don't quite know what it is, what's going on. They think I'm a bit nervous, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they do try to rush things a lot bit to talk over. But people I know they are generally more welcoming, accepting, and understanding, and do give me my time for the most part.
Very good. And yes, I was thinking in the beginning he was just really nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to like your friends, your classmates, has anyone ever made fun of you?
A few times, yes. Not often though.
You know, I know, sure, once they get to know you better, that's just
Certainly. Yes.
that's just who you are, and very accepting of that, and that's wonderful to hear. Now, people who have Tourette's, as we know, often have tics. Do you have any tics that you can share with us?
Yes, my tics was that when I talk, I tend to stutter, and I blink and cough a lot more and at more random times, even when I normally shouldn't have to. And then if I don't pay attention, I make noises in my mouth and rub my hands and arms together. Generally, it's one of the reasons why I tend to keep my nails a bit shorter.
So are you aware that these are happening?
For the most part, yes. Okay, with my hands and my vocal ones, those typically happen when I'm not quite fully invested or paying attention to something. So they typically go unnoticed for about 10 seconds maybe before I notice and stop it.
Because it's just part of who you are. Right, I understand that. How does it make you feel to have a tic?
It's a bit disheartening at times, and a bit difficult, but I think it's bit not too bad for me to have. I feel that it's made me a lot more humble and accepting of others and what's life going on with them and what's wrong with them, or at least what they think is wrong with them.
Well, and you bring up a very good point. We all have something that we're aware of that hinders us from doing things that we like to do, and this is just part of who you are, and you're special in that respect, and being able to handle it and know this is who I am, and we want people to accept you that way, and that's how you feel too. So that's good to hear. So Alex, what is the most important thing you want people to know about Tourette's?
I want people to know that it's not a choice to have it. It's not something that they can fully control over when they do start having their tics.
Okay, wonderful. It's just who you are.
Right.
Okay, it's part of who you are, just
Right.
like you've got brown hair. It's part of who you are. Exactly. Now, again, Crystal doesn't know I'm going to ask you this question, but what would you say to parents, or what would you say to a child? No, let's back that up. What would you say to parents with a child that's been diagnosed with Tourette's? How have your parents impacted your life?
They have made a great deal of being supportive and understanding of when I wanted to do something or was an instruction of encouraging me to do and giving me just small bits of advice that made a huge as well as being the shoulder I needed to lean on. And I think that is critical for parents to do the same to their kids if they have Tourette's.
Very much so. Your parents are very supportive. Like we talked earlier, you're involved in so many things and activities and sports, and your parents are there with you. Your mom talks a lot about how she's taken you to matches and to things that's going on at school. I can tell she's very proud of you. Very, very much so. Okay, now Crystal, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I just want to add that there are so many resources out there, so when you're newly diagnosed, don't feel alone. There's Facebook groups. The doctor can help you out with getting local groups in your area, Tourette's Association. There's so many people out there that will help you get through this.
Very good. And that would be who you'd suggest they contact to learn more? Is there
Yes.
doctors and okay, very good. All right, well, thank you. Alex, is there anything else you want to share today?
I will. The last thing I would want to say is don't let it drag you down. If you have Tourette's, still be you. Be involved in the things you love.
Okay, wonderful. That's good to hear. And we could all take that on anything, couldn't we? We
Yes.
could all take that advice. All right, well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us today, Alex. You are an inspiration. I'm sure your parents, everybody, and to me too. So it's nice to meet you. I hear a lot about you, so it's nice to put a face with a name. And Crystal, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention and making sure that we get information out there. Thank you to you all too for joining us today. If you do have any additional questions, you can contact Southern 7 Health Department. We'd be able to share information with you and tell you where best to get more information. Thank you so much. My name is Shauna Ryan. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Southern 7 Health Department. Here with me today is Cynthia Tremblay. She is a Special Needs Specialist for Southern 7 Head Start. Thank you for chatting with me today. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Now, one of the goals of Head Start, Cynthia, is to ensure full participation of all children in all activities. How is this accomplished with children with Tourette's or even any other conditions?
Sure. Staff are given specific information on each child because even if you have two children with a similar diagnosis, it doesn't mean they need the same thing. So it's more of training on what is a concern for that child and how they can help them participate. And we would follow any information from physicians or from the school system if they have special education plans to make sure that they're involved in it.
What are some accommodations or what are some things that are done in the Head Start program to help children, maybe with Tourette's, autism, and some other developmental
Sure.
issues?
One thing that all children benefit from is routine and structure. And that's something that it relieves stress, it helps children know what's coming next, and just keeps them on an even keel. So that works for any child of any ability. So that's the first thing that we do. But we have staff that receive specific training in what a child may need. Two children with the same diagnosis may need completely different things. So it's very individualized. So we work with the school if there's a special education plan or their physician to see what they need and to be with them, to support them in the classroom so that they can participate.
What if you have a child that comes into the program that has never been diagnosed? How do the staff deal with that? How does Head Start work with that family?
So we have screenings that we do with all of our children. We have developmental screenings, behavioral screenings, and then we have the teachers' observations in the classroom, and we might meet with the parents to see what their concerns are, and then we can make appropriate referrals either to the school system for children ages 3 and up, or to the state's early intervention system for those children under the age of 3.
Because, for example, with Tourette's, a lot of those kids aren't diagnosed until later in life. But you do see Tourette's, you see autism, you see other developmental delays. I'm sure.
Right, yes.
Exactly. So social emotional learning, mental health consultation, that's all part of the treatment plan in that respect.
Yes.
As well as helping to establish what type of education levels and activities and things for those kids. Is that what we're talking about then?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Now, once the child has gone through the screening, let's say initially through the screening, and they didn't come to Head Start knowing that they had an issue, what happens from there? I mean, you mentioned the doctors, you mentioned, is there anything else that you do?
Right. So the whole time that we're working in the process of getting them some specific help for what's going on with them, we work with them the whole time just on what we see that they need, because none of these things are instant fixes. And so getting a plan with the school or the early intervention system can take a while, and we provide a lot of documentation and observation notes. So in the meantime, we just look at what's going on with the child. We use our own staff. We have a mental health consultant. We have other education staff. So we can look at what would help the child now so that they're not just waiting on something to help.
Okay. And do you continue with them past Head Start, or once they move into kindergarten, is that where Head Start pulls back and allows the schools to take over, I guess?
Sure. Yeah, we have a transition system where we help the parents, help the child, and help the school be ready for the child. A lot of times, if a child has special education services before the age of 5, we'll have a meeting right before kindergarten where Head Start staff and kindergarten staff will both get together to decide, what would work best, what we've seen that works, how it might be different in their classroom, and those kind of things.
Wonderful. So, for a parent who has a child that's diagnosed with a developmental delay, it can be very scary, sometimes frustrating, but you provide the services, the information, everything that they need to get that child on track, especially as they head into kindergarten, which is a big thing. So, what do you say to those parents who are concerned that they have a child with a delay or another issue? What do you say to them when they come into the program?
Right. What we would say is we're just looking at, we want to see where the child is at now. We're not focused on where they need to be. We see where they're at now. And we know what's usually considered developmentally appropriate for that age. And so we work on what it would take to get the child to that point. So, like I said, it's working with other agencies, working with the parent, but I always tell the parent it's so much easier to start when they're little than when they're older and, maybe habits have been established that aren't helpful. It's a lot easier to change negative behaviors and how they feel about things at this age because they're like sponges, so this is the time, and that's why Head Start is so important.
Very good. Is there anything else, Cynthia, that you want families to know as they're, again, starting that journey of thinking there might be something going on?
Sure. There are lots of agencies out there to help. Sometimes you have to know who they are, but there are lots of agencies, counseling agencies that help children with special needs, and the school system. There are lots of people that can help, and if you have a child who is age birth to 5, we would be glad to help them at Head Start.
Very good. And the most important thing we want them to know is they're not alone. Especially if you're a new parent, you've never had a child before. I know sometimes that's scary,
Right.
to think that something might be going on. And, as parents, we tend to think everything's our fault. And so it's important for them to know that, you're there for them, that they're going to get the care that they need and the help and support that they need. So that's wonderful. All right, Cynthia, wonderful. Thank you so much for talking with me today. How can people contact you if they want more information?
They can contact me here at Southern 7, and our number is 618-634-2297, extension 9141.
Wonderful. Thank you again. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, we're good. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Shauna Ryan with Southern 7 Health Department. Once again, we've been here with Cynthia Tremblay. She is the Special Needs Specialist for Head Start. If you'd like more information, please give her a call. You can also visit us online at southern7.org.